Okay, students, welcome back to the classroom. Today we are talking about all the chords I feel like you should know on the piano. And of course, the first type of chord is the triad. These are 3-note chords, and there are 3 main types of these: major, minor, diminished, and augmented. Every triad has a root, a third, and a fifth. Okay, and then taking a look here at the keyboard. So every triad has 3 notes, like I mentioned. So say we have the C major triad. You have what's called the root, which is the name of the chord. It usually appears on the bottom, but not always. We'll talk about that in a minute. You have the third and the fifth. So the question is, why isn't it called root, second, and third, right? Because it's the second note and the third note. Well, the third, fifth, and then as you'll see, we'll go into sevenths, ninths, and so forth, all have to do with the distance the distance the note is from the root. So a third is an interval of a third, meaning it's 1, 2, 3, 3 notes apart. A fifth is 5 notes apart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th, and so on. So that's where root, third, fifth come in. Okay, let's continue here. Okay, the first type of triad is the major triad, and this type of triad is going to sound happy. Now, if you want to play any major triad, you play the root, then you count up 4 semitones. Semitone is a half step, which is the smallest amount of movement you can make on the piano. And then you want to count up for the third, and then 3 semitones up from the third up to get to the fifth. So let me tell you what I mean by that. So you play the note. See, we have C again. Then you're going to count up 4 semitones or 4 half steps from there. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to make sure that you're not including the note you're starting on. So if you start with that with 1, the root, you're not going to get the right answer. So you hit the root and then you count up 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your third, and then 1, 2, 3 for your fifth, and it's a pleasant sounding kind of chord. So what I want you to practice after this lesson is starting on any note and then counting up 4, then 3, and playing your major triads. Okay, let's talk about the next type. Okay, the next type is the minor triad, so it's another 3-note chord, obviously. And the formula now is to play the root, and then this time you're going up 3 half steps and then 4 half steps. So we've flipped it around, and these are a sad type of chord. So if you had played the C minor triad, it would sound darker and sadder than its major counterpart. And then, like I said again, we flipped the formula. Before it was 4, then 3, now it's 3, then 4. So you play the root, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. All right, let's get into the next triad. Okay, this is another, well, I don't need to say it's a 3-note chord, but it's a dark and scary sounding chord. And what you do for this one is, the formula is 3 and 3. So you play the note that you need. Let's do maybe F this time. And then we're going to go up 3 and 3 again. And it has a very tense, kind of crunchy type of sound. Okay, let's go on to the last triad, and then we have a lot of other chords after that. So let's take a look. Okay, the augmented triad is another 3-note chord, and it sounds tense and mysterious. You play the root, and then this time the formula is 4 and then 4. So let's say we have E. You go up 4, like you do for a major, and then you go up 4 again. And the name, by the way, when we play diminished, the word diminish means to make smaller. So literally in a diminished chord, we're making the distance between the notes smaller, whereas an augmented chord, to augment, means to make larger, of course. So remember that it's 4 and 4. Just like that. And then you want to obviously go through on your own and practice as many of these as you can. But today it's just an overview. It's more of a chord compendium of sorts of all the chords you'll find. Okay, let's go on to the next type of chord, which, I want to tell you about inversions, apparently. Okay, so this happens when you change the order of the notes. You still have the same 3 notes. They're just in a different order. So let me show you what I mean by that. So let's take C major again, C, E, and G. We know that one well. And to invert the chord, what you do is, we're still going to have the same 3 notes, C, E, and G. What you do is you take the bottom note out, You keep these two notes where they're at, the E and the G, and you move up the C, the root, up an octave from where it was. And you play the notes again. Now the order is E, G, C, same three notes, different order. You do it again, you bring it up and do another inversion. So in a triad, there's two inversions. So you have root position, which means the root is on the bottom. You have first inversion, which means the root then is on the top, or it's inverted one time. Inverted twice, you know, we have then the fifth on the bottom, and then the root is in the middle. So just keep in mind with that. A lot of times chords will be split up between each hand, in which case what you're going to do, so say I have this, you're going to look out for whatever note is in the bass. So if the third is in the bass, the middle note, then it's automatically going to be in first inversion regardless of what you have going on up here. And if you have G on the bottom, it's going to be second inversion regardless of what you have up there. That's just the way it works. It all depends on what note really is in the bass. But for now, just know that an inversion is changing up the order on the chords. All right, let's talk about our next topic, which I think now is going to be seventh chords. There we go. Okay, a seventh chord, contrary to what you may think logically, which would be that a seventh chord has 7 notes. Wrong. you would hope so, but no. A seventh chord has a root, a third, a fifth, and a seventh. Remember earlier I was talking about the distances between the notes and how you can keep going. So they have 4 notes generally, and there are 5 main types: the major seventh, dominant seventh, minor seventh, half diminished seventh, and fully diminished seventh. There are strange things like the minor major seventh and things like that, but you're not going to see those very often at all. Okay, let's talk about the first type of seventh chord, which is the major seventh chord. So the formula for this is really learn your triads first, because what we're going to do is we're going to take the major triad and we're going to add in a major seventh. Let me show you what this looks like on the piano. So we're going to go back to our old trusty and true C major triad. And then this time, right from the fifth, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps again. And that gives us our answer. The seventh in a major seventh is known as the leading tone because it's the next to last note up that scale. And it really wants you to lead back to what we call the root or the tonic. So that's how you do a major seventh. Let's practice a few. Let's say it's E major seventh. So you play E major triad. Now it might take you a little bit more time than me to figure these out, but then you count up how many? 4, right? 1, 2, 3, and then 4, just like that. All right, let's try one more. How about A flat major seventh? So you start on your root, which is A flat. You count up 4 for that third, you count up 3 again for that fifth, and then you count up how many? 1, 2, 3, 4 to get that last one. So that's your major seventh chord. All right, let's go on to the next type, which of course is the dominant seventh chord. Now the strange thing about this is a lot of times with the major seventh chord, it's going to say MAJ7 or major 7. However, the dominant seventh chord is just going to say 7 when it says the chord. So it'll say something like D7. That automatically means dominant seventh. And how you play this is you play a major triad, exact same as before, plus a minor seventh. So let's take a look at what this is going to look like. So here's your major. We're going to play a C dominant seventh. So you play your major chord first. And then instead of counting up 4 half steps for what we call the major seventh, you're going to lower that, or only count up 3 half steps. And that gives you your root, third, fifth, and then flat, or your minor seventh up there. And it has a jazzy kind of quality. One thing I want to quickly mention is that you can invert seventh chords as well. However, this time, you actually have another inversion to work with. Every note you add into the chord, you can invert it one more time. Okay, let's take a look at the next type. All right, which is the minor seventh chord. So this is a minor triad plus a minor seventh, which is up 3 semitones from that fifth. So let's take a look at what that is. So we played our dominant seventh chord before, right? The only difference between a dominant seventh chord and a minor seventh chord is this middle note right here. You just lower it a half step. So now you have root, third, fifth, your minor triad plus that minor seventh up there. Let's try another one. Let's try like G minor 7th, see how we do with that. So you start on your root. Now you need to make a minor triad, so you might have to spend some time on your triads to get these, but you go up 3 half steps. And then how many for the 5th? Think about it, think about it. The answer is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then from there you have to go up 1, 2, 3. And a lot of the fingering for a lot of these, especially in root position, I recommend instead of 1, 3, 5, you do 1, 2, 3, and then 5. Just like that. Okay, let's try one more minor 7th chord. Let's try maybe an E flat minor 7th. You play E flat, you go up 3, you go up 4, and then you go up 3 again. And that gives you your minor 7th chord. So again, practice these around the keyboard. Okay, we have more 7th chords, of course, and actually a lot more chords after this. So let's take a look. I know it's going to be a lot to take in, so you're going to have to watch this lesson a few times to make sure you retain all of these. Okay, the half diminished 7th. So now it's a diminished triad, as if you remember, it was 3 and 3 is the formula. And then you go up to that minor 7th we were playing for the dominant 7th chord. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so you play C. So we're going to do C diminished first. You go up 3. Then you go up 3 more. Just like that. And then from there, if you're doing a diminished chord, I mean, you can go right away to that 7th if you remember where that was for the dominant 7th, or you can count up 1, 2, 3, 4 from there. So it's 3, 3, and then 4. Just like that. The fully diminished 7th, which is what's going on next, is the exact same thing, except now we're lowering that top note, the 7th, another half step. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you got, we're going to do C again. You're going to go up 3 half steps. And then how many for a 5th if we're doing diminished? Another 3, right? Diminished is 3 and 3. Augmented is 4 and 4. Just get those triad formulas in your head. And then you go up another 3. So a fully diminished triad, no matter what you're starting on, let's say D, right, is always 3, 3, and 3. And you can play a fully diminished fully diminished 7th chord no matter where you are. Let's try D flat. You go up 3, another 3, and then another 3. Just like that. Okay, let's take a look because we do have more. Okay, we're going to talk about 9th chords, and we're going to talk about the major 9th chord first. So again, to kind of build on these when you're going from, I would first learn your triads really well, then learn your 7ths really well, and then go on and start learning these 9th chords because the formula is a major 7th chord plus a major 9th, and it's abbreviated MAJ9 when you see this one. So let's take a look here. So you have your root. Let's just do a C major 9. You're going to play a C major chord, then a C major 7th by going up 4 from there, and then you go up to what we call a major 9th. Like that. I actually don't have enough fingers to play it. A lot of times they will leave out like the 5th. A lot of times. Let me see how you do this. Or they'll leave out, well, they won't really leave out the root. But anyway, they spread the notes out so you can actually play them between one hand, or they'll split them up between 2 hands. So you'll have like 2 of the notes of the chord down here, and then 3 of the notes of the chord up there, in case you're wondering how in the world do I play all these notes. But let me show you. So you got root 3rd, 5th, 7th, and then major 9th. If you want to play a major 9th, I mean, you can count up half steps from the 7th, 1, 2, 3. It's another 3 half steps. Or what you can do, or semitones rather, or what you can do is say, okay, I'm playing a C major 7th chord, and now it takes knowledge of scales to know this. So you have to ask yourself, what is the 2nd note in the C major scale? Well, that's the D, and then you move it up an octave, and then that gives you your 9th. But that takes a little bit more theory knowledge to get to. So just remember that it's 4 half steps, 3 half steps, another 4, and then another 3. Somebody in the chat asked, Real One's a fan, 7 half diminished is 7 flat 5. Yeah, that is true. That's just another way of writing them there. Okay, let's take a look at our next. Oh, another thing I want to mention is that once you have your 9th chord here, you can either have a sharp 9, where you sharp it, or flat it. So just know that this would be called C major 7, or C major sharp 9. And then this would be C major flat 9. All right, let's go on to the next chord, which is the dominant 9th chord. Now, this is just written as a 9. So if you have a D dominant 9th, it's just going to say D9. Or if you have C9 dominant 9th, it's just going to say C9. I know it's kind of confusing. Why don't they write it out for the dominants? And I don't know. I'm sure there's a good reason. Okay, this time we're playing a dominant 7th chord from before plus a major 9th. So really the only difference between this and the other chord we did, so we had the major 9th chord like this, C, E, G, B, and then D to show you there. This time we're just taking that 7th and flatting it, since we want a dominant 7th chord on the bottom plus that 9th up there. And that's all you really got to know. And then the same thing here is that you can sharp the 9. So this would be D9 sharp, or no, D sharp 9, and this would be D flat 9. And just remember with dominant, for some reason, they don't write in dominant 9, they just write 9. It's just the way it is. All right, 11th chord. So we're going to talk about all types of 11ths here in one slide, because once you get the conventions of how to do the major 9ths, or the 9th chords, the 11th chords work the same way, where a major 11th chord, abbreviated as MAJ11, is a major 7th chord plus a, it should say an 11th. Okay, so this time, it's the same kind of thing. So let's just say we're going to be playing our C major 9, and then our 11th, C major 11th, would just be skipping up another 2 notes, since you have 9, 11, 13, and so forth. So that would be, or you could think of it's the 4th note up the C scale from where we are starting. So you have root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and then the 11th. And once again, you can sharp that 11th. You can't flat an 11th because then it becomes a 3rd. So just know that you can only have sharp 11, but not flat 11. And I know now it's probably getting a lot muddy in here because of all the types of chords we're talking about. So like I said, though, build on from the triad, master those, and then build on to these. Okay, the minor 11th formula is you just play a minor 7th chord, C minor 7th chord, plus that 9, plus the 11th. So it's the same kind of thing. So each time you're just altering what kind of chord you have on the bottom. The dominant 11th chord, you would play a dominant chord on the bottom, and then play your 9th and 11th. And sometimes they have the 9th in there. Actually, you know, if it doesn't say 9, specifically say 9, I think you just play the 11th, if I'm not mistaken. But a lot of times the 11th chords will have the 9ths in there. All right, let's take a look at the 13th chords, which is the exact same kind of thing as the 11ths. Same kind of conventions, where the major 13th formula is literally the major 7th chord plus a 13th. Minor 13th formula is minor 7th plus a 13th. So each time, you're just really altering the 7th chord that's on the bottom. So for the major 13th, you play a major 7th chord on the bottom, plus 9, 11, 13. So you continue skipping up from 7. 7, 9, 11, and then 13 you want all the way up there. And then, of course, you can have sharp 13 or flat 13 like before. So say you had a dominant 13, it just said maybe C13. Well, this time you'd play a dominant 7th chord on the bottom, plus 13 up there. Now, if you're wondering why these chords sound so awful, a lot of times in jazz, we're not going to get into it today because it's a whole lesson by itself. A lot of times in jazz and in a lot of things where we use these chords, they break the chords up using voice leading rules, proper voice leading between, or spacing rules between each hand, and that makes them sound a lot better. Because when you start playing a lot of notes in clusters, you know, it sounds really, really bad. It starts to sound really, really off. But if you spread the notes out a bit, Even that sounds a little bit too much for me. So maybe like a ninth chord. Let's see here. Yeah, there you go. So there's a good like ninth chord. Sounds nice and dreamy rather than too crunchy. All right, let's take a look at what we have next, which are sus chords. We're going to talk about two main sus chords here. Suspended chords is what they're called. They typically involve temporarily replacing a note in a chord, usually a triad, with a nearby note. The nearby note has to resolve or move back to the note of the chord. So let's take a look here. Yeah. So here's how a sus chord works. I know it might be confusing reading it off. So say we have a C major chord. I know you can handle that, at least probably, unless you're really new to this stuff. So you play your C major chord. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take for a sus4 suspension, what you're going to do is you're going to take out this middle note, the third. And you're going to replace it with a fourth above. That's why it's actually called a 4-3 suspension, because you're taking the fourth and then you're doing what's called resolving it, moving it to its proper place. So 4 to 3. They have a really cool, really suspended kind of sound as well. But it's literally called a suspended chord because you are suspending one of the notes temporarily. Okay, let's, oh yeah, the sus2 chord. So you do for a sus2 chord now is we have our major triad, C, E, and G. Now we're going to replace, this is actually called a 2-1 suspension, the full name of it, because we're replacing the root, also called 1 in this case, with a 2. Because remember, the notes are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 2 to 1. And as you can see, just by playing a bunch of sus chords, they have a really pleasant sound to them. Thanks everybody for coming out. It's because of you that I'm still doing this, your support, your love for learning piano, and I'm loving teaching you. So here's to, more lessons ahead. I'll talk to you actually in just a couple of days on Sunday. So have a great one, and I'll talk to you then.